Fliera took a deep breath. She thought of all the moments she had witnessed, soldiers protecting each other, teammates comforting one another, strangers risking everything to help others. These were not acts driven by instinct, they were choices. Each human had acted freely out of empathy and care. That was something her people, bound by strict cycles, could never understand. "I see it now," she whispered almost to herself. The freedom to act, the courage to connect, the strength to choose. Humans possess what we cannot. My people may have power, influence, and control, but they do not have this. This was something more, Jace nodded. It is, and that is why humans endure, thrive, and surprise the universe. Freedom, choice, and heart are stronger than cycles or instinct. For the first time, Liara felt genuine admiration for humans. She realized that she had come expecting to witness weakness, to find limitations in a species she thought primitive. Instead, she had found something that shook her understanding of strength. Humans were not bound by biology. They were masters of their own hearts. Tears formed in her eyes as she looked at Jace. "I demanded proof, and humanity delivered more than I ever imagined. Not just in action, but in spirit. They are free in ways I never thought possible." Jace placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Princess, you are seeing the truth. Human strength is not only physical. It is emotional, moral, and spiritual. That is what makes us remarkable." Liara smiled softly, a smile that carried humility, respect, and wonder. She knew that when she returned to her people, she would not only tell them of humans' abilities, but of their hearts. And perhaps one day the Vrinians would understand what she had learned. That true power lies not in cycles or instinct, but in the courage to choose, the strength to care, and the freedom to act. As she gazed at the stars, Liara felt a quiet peace. Humans had shown her something no Vrinian education could teach, a lesson in heart, spirit, and freedom. And in that moment she understood that the proof she had sought all along was not in biology, but in humanity itself. Days passed, and Princess Liara's perception of humans continued to change. She no longer observed them as a curious outsider, but as someone beginning to understand their depth. Each human interaction, each choice, each act of courage revealed a strength that went far beyond physical ability. Humans were not just survivors. They were connected, compassionate, and free. Liara found herself drawn to Commander Jace more and more. His calm confidence, his unwavering sense of duty, and his quiet empathy fascinated her. Unlike Vrinians, who measured worth through cycles and instinct, Jace showed her something new: strength born of heart, courage born of choice, and power that required understanding rather than domination. One evening, she approached him in the observation deck, the stars reflecting in her wide, expressive eyes. "Jace," she said softly, "I have watched your people for weeks. I see how you act, how you connect, how you choose. I understand your strength. Yet I still do not fully grasp it. It feels deeper, more powerful than I expected." Jace smiled gently. "Princess, what you see is humanity's true proof. We are not bound by cycles or instinct. We survive, thrive, and create because we choose to care, to love, and to protect one another. Our desire is guided by heart and respect, not biology. That is why humans are strong in ways others may never understand." Liara's eyes softened, her usual pride replaced by genuine awe. She had never felt such a mixture of respect and curiosity. "It is strange," she whispered. "My people are born to follow cycles. We cannot act outside them, cannot control ourselves beyond instinct. Yet your species, you are free. You can love, desire, and create at any time. And you do it with honor, with care, with conscience." Jace nodded. "Freedom comes with responsibility, Princess. That is what makes us human. We do not act recklessly, we act with heart. That is our power." Over the following days, Liara spent more time among humans, learning from them, laughing with them, and even sharing moments of quiet reflection. She observed families, soldiers, and friends, and began to understand that the beauty of humanity was not just in survival. It was in choice, in connection, and in trust. Humans could choose to act at any time, yet they acted with thought, empathy, and care. One night she sat alone thinking about everything she had learned. "I demanded proof," she murmured to herself. "I sought evidence of physical ability, of cycles and instincts. Yet I was blind to the true strength of humans. Their freedom, their heart, their courage. That is the proof. That is extraordinary." Jace joined her quietly, sitting beside her. "Princess, you have seen the truth. Humans are not perfect, but we are free. And freedom, when paired with heart and courage, is stronger than any cycle, any instinct, any rule. Liara looked at him, her expression a mixture of wonder and gratitude. For the first time she felt humility and admiration for a species she had once doubted. "I see it now," she whispered. "The proof I sought was never in what you do physically. It was in how you choose, how you connect, and how you care. That is more powerful than I could have imagined." Jace placed a reassuring hand on hers, and for a brief moment, silence spoke louder than words. They both understood the unspoken truth. Humans were extraordinary not just because they could act at any time, but because they chose to act with heart, courage, and conscience. Liara smiled softly, her eyes glimmering with emotion. She had come to judge a species, but she was leaving with respect, understanding, and a newfound connection. Humans had taught her something no Vrinian cycle or instinct ever could. The freedom to choose and the courage to act on that choice was the truest proof of strength. The day came when Princess Liara had to leave Earth. Her ship gleamed in the sunlight, ready to carry her back to the stars, back to the Vrinian Empire. Yet as she stood at the edge of the landing platform, she felt a strange heaviness in her chest. She had come seeking proof of human biology, of their ability to act on desire at any time. She had expected cycles, instincts, and limitations. Instead, she was leaving with something far greater: understanding, respect, and admiration for a species unlike any she had ever encountered. Commander Jace approached her, calm as always. "Princess," he said softly, "I hope your time here has been enlightening." Liara turned to him, her eyes glimmering with emotion. "It has been more than enlightening," she admitted. "I demanded proof of something I did not understand. I thought it was about biology, about cycles and instinct. But the truth is far more remarkable. Humans are not slaves to biology. They are free. They choose, they care, they love, they protect, and they endure. That is their power." Jace nodded. "And you have seen it firsthand. That is what makes humanity extraordinary. We survive not because we are perfect, but because we act with heart and choice." Liara smiled softly, her pride replaced by humility. She had spent weeks observing, learning, and connecting. She had seen humans face danger, comfort each other, and make sacrifices purely out of love and trust. Every act had been a demonstration of freedom and courage, and it had changed her understanding of strength entirely. "I came here to judge you," she whispered, "to see if your claims were true. But I leave knowing that humanity is something beyond my understanding. Your freedom, your courage, your heart, it is proof enough. Proof of a strength my people could never comprehend." Jace placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Princess, that is the truth of humanity. We are not bound by cycles or instincts. We act because we choose to. And in that choice lies our strength, our resilience, and our spirit." For the first time, Liara felt genuine admiration for humans. She realized that she had underestimated them, not in biology, but in spirit. Their ability to act freely with heart and conscience made them far stronger than her people, who were bound by rigid cycles and instincts. As her ship prepared for takeoff, she looked back at the humans who had welcomed, taught, and trusted her. She felt a deep connection, something she had never expected. "I will carry this knowledge to my people," she said softly. "Perhaps one day they will understand what I have seen. That true power lies not in cycles, rules, or instinct, but in choice, courage, and heart." Jace watched her board the ship, a quiet sense of pride swelling within him. Humans had survived countless challenges, but this was different. They had survived judgment and skepticism from one of the most powerful species in the galaxy, and in doing so, they had proven their strength in the truest sense. Through heart, freedom, and spirit, the ship lifted, casting a shadow over the humans below. Liara pressed her hand to the glass, looking at Jace and the team. She smiled, a small, genuine smile filled with understanding and admiration. She had come demanding proof, expecting only to see biology. Instead, she was leaving with respect, awe, and a lesson she would carry for the rest of her life. As the ship disappeared into the stars, Jace felt a quiet satisfaction. Humans had not only survived, they had inspired, taught, and impressed an alien princess. They had shown the universe that strength was not only measured in power or instinct, but in freedom, courage, and heart. And somewhere among the stars, Princess Liara would forever remember the lesson humanity had given her. that to act with heart, to love freely, and to choose courage over instinct, that was the true proof of strength. For the first time, Liara felt something unfamiliar, curiosity mixed with awe. She studied Jace carefully. There was a quiet confidence in him, a strength that was different from anything she had seen in her own people. He did not command, he did not dominate. He inspired trust, and yet she felt drawn to it even if she could not fully explain why. Days turned into nights, and slowly, Liara began to notice the small moments. A soldier comforting a wounded teammate, a scientist staying late to help a colleague finish a project, humans laughing at their mistakes, learning from them, and supporting each other without hesitation. It was not physical strength that impressed her. It was heart, courage, and empathy. One night she approached Jace again. Her voice was quieter, almost unsure. "I thought I came here to judge your species, to see if your claims were true. But now, I feel something else. I see loyalty, courage, care, and something I cannot define. I see humans connecting in ways my people cannot even imagine." Jace nodded slowly. "That is because humans choose connection. We act on trust and love, not only biology. Desire and emotion are powerful, but they are also guided by respect, understanding, and choice." "That is our proof, Princess." Liara stared at him, her mind racing. Her heart, which had always been trained to obey instinct, began to feel a strange warmth. She had never expected to witness such freedom, such emotion in another species. Humans could act on desire any time, but it was more than physical. It was trust, care, and courage intertwined. For the first time, Liara began to question everything she had been taught. Perhaps humans were not primitive. Perhaps their unpredictability, their freedom, and their courage were a strength her people could never understand. She turned to Jace, her eyes softer now, though still full of curiosity. "You say your strength lies in choice, but can it truly be proven? Can I see this freedom in action?" Jace placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "Princess, you are seeing it already. Every moment you observe, every connection you witness, that is the proof. Humanity's strength is in heart, not instinct. That is why we survive where others might fail." Liara looked out at the stars, silent for a long moment. She had come expecting to find weakness, to see a species limited by biology. Instead, she found courage, compassion, and freedom. She felt something stir within her, a spark of respect, perhaps even admiration for humans. And in that quiet moment, she realized something she had never expected. The lessons she sought might not come from watching, but from learning, connecting, and understanding humanity in a way no Vrinian cycle could ever teach. Princess Liara had seen enough to be intrigued. But curiosity alone would not satisfy her. She needed proof, undeniable proof that humans could truly act on desire and create life without cycles or instinct. Her pride would not allow her to leave without understanding. She decided to arrange a controlled test, a challenge that would show human strength in its purest form. Commander Jace understood immediately. He knew the request was delicate, unusual, and deeply personal. No human had ever faced a test like this under observation. Yet he also knew that humans were capable of extraordinary things when their hearts were involved. Their freedom, their choices, and their courage had always set them apart from other species. Liara explained the test to Jace with calm authority. "I will not leave until I witness your species' ability firsthand. This is not a matter of words. I want to see the proof of your freedom, your strength, and your capacity for connection." Jace nodded and gathered a small team of volunteers. They were briefed carefully. The test was not about forcing anyone to act against their will, nor was it about displaying intimacy inappropriately. Instead, it was designed to demonstrate trust, emotion, and the power of human choice, the very essence of what made humans unique. The test began with simple exercises. Team members were asked to navigate challenges that required cooperation, courage, and empathy. They helped one another through simulated dangers, offered comfort when fear arose, and made decisions that prioritized care and understanding over efficiency. Liara watched closely. At first, she remained skeptical. "This is mere cooperation," she muttered to Jace. "It does not prove what you claim. Humans can survive together, yes, but can they act on desire freely without cycles? Can they create life on their own terms?" Jace smiled faintly. "Princess, life is more than instinct. Desire is more than biology. Watch closely. Humanity's proof is not only physical, It is emotional, moral, and courageous. As the days passed, Liara began to notice small but powerful moments. A couple chose to stay behind in a dangerous simulation to help a teammate, even though it meant risking their own success. Another pair supported each other emotionally after a failure, showing trust and vulnerability. Humans laughed together, cried together, and comforted one another. Not because they were forced, but because they chose to. Liara's eyes widened as understanding slowly dawned. She began to see what Jace had meant. Humans were not slaves to instinct. They could act on desire, make choices, and create connections at any time, but always with care, respect, and consent. That was the freedom she had never known, the proof she had demanded. One evening, Liara returned to the observation deck alone. Jace joined her quietly, watching her as she gazed at the stars. "I see it now," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "I demanded proof, yet what I see is beyond anything I imagined. Humans can act freely, choose freely, and still remain honorable and compassionate. This is power I did not expect." Jace placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Princess, that is humanity. Our strength lies not only in our bodies, but in our hearts and our choices. Desire is powerful, yes, but even more powerful is the freedom to act responsibly on it. That is why we endure." Tears filled Liara's eyes. She had come to judge, to see if humans were capable of the impossible. Instead, she witnessed something far greater. Courage intertwined with love, freedom intertwined with respect, and strength intertwined with empathy. For the first time, she understood. Humans did not simply survive, they thrived through choice, heart, and connection. And that was proof enough for a Vrinian princess who had demanded evidence of what she thought impossible. Liara finally allowed herself to smile, small, but genuine. The test had ended, but the lesson had only just begun. She would never see humans the same way again, for she had witnessed something no cycle, no instinct, and no rule could ever teach: the extraordinary power of a free heart. Princess Liara sat quietly in the observation deck, her gaze fixed on the horizon where Earth met the stars. She had demanded proof, she had arranged tests, and she had watched humans face challenges that would have broken many species. Yet despite all she had seen, she felt a strange mixture of awe and humility. Humans were nothing like Vrinians. They were unpredictable, emotional, and yet unbelievably strong. Her reports to the Vrinian Council had been cautious at first. "Humans are different," she had said, carefully choosing her words. "They do not follow cycles or instincts. They act by choice. They feel deeply, care for one another, and face dangers without losing their freedom. It is remarkable." Many of the council members had been skeptical. "Do not forget, Princess," her advisor warned, "humans are primitive. They may survive now, but without instinct can they truly endure?" Liara shook her head. "You misunderstand. Their strength is not in instinct. It is in heart, in courage.
In the freedom to choose, even in the face of fear."
That is what makes them extraordinary." Back in the observation deck, Jace approached her, noticing the change in her demeanor. "Princess, you seem different today. Has something changed?" he asked gently. Liara turned to him, her eyes glimmering. "I came here to judge humans, to see if your claims were true. And yet I see now that I demanded the wrong proof. I sought physical demonstrations, cycles, and biological evidence. What I have learned instead is far greater. Human strength lies in their freedom, their heart, and their courage." You're extraordinary," Jace smiled. "Princess, that is the heart of humanity. We survive not because of rules, cycles, or instinct. We survive because we choose to act, to care, and to love. That is our proof." Commander Jace had never expected the day to be like this. A massive alien ship appeared above Earth, hovering silently, its surface shimmering like liquid silver under the sun. The craft was beautiful and terrifying at the same time, covered in strange glowing symbols that seemed to move as if alive. Military forces surrounded the landing site, but no one dared to move forward. From the ship's hatch a figure emerged, tall, elegant, and utterly commanding. She wore a flowing robe of deep blue and silver, and her eyes, large and luminous, seemed to pierce through every soul in the room. This was Princess Liara of the Vrinian Empire, heir to one of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. Jace had studied the Vrinian species for years. They were unlike anything humans had encountered. Vrinian biology was strict and unforgiving, They could only breed during a short cycle that came once every 7 years. Outside that time, their instincts were nearly dormant. They had no concept of spontaneous desire, and yet, here stood Liara, full of curiosity and arrogance, ready to challenge humanity itself. Her voice was calm but sharp as she spoke. Humans claim they can breed at any time, without a cycle, without instinct controlling them. This is highly unlikely. Her tone carried disbelief, but there was a hint of fascination. Jace swallowed hard. He knew the truth of his species, but he also knew how alien it must sound. Princess Liara, humans are different. We can reproduce anytime. It is part of our biology. We do not wait for cycles or seasons. Liara's eyes widened and her hand instinctively went to her mouth. That is impossible, she whispered. Her voice trembled slightly, betraying a mix of shock and curiosity. There must be some mistake. Show me. Proof. The room went silent. No human had ever been asked to demonstrate something so personal. The Vrinian princess was not known for patience. Her reputation was one of strict rules, pride, and unyielding logic. For her to demand proof of human reproduction was unprecedented and deeply uncomfortable for everyone present. Jace straightened his shoulders, meeting her gaze with steady confidence. Princess, what you ask is not simple. It is private. It is personal. Humans do not display this as part of a public demonstration. Liara's expression hardened. I will not accept words alone. I am not a child to be told stories. I demand proof. If your species wishes to show its strength, it will comply. Fear rippled through the assembled team, but Jace held firm. Humans had faced impossible odds before. Alien invasions, natural disasters, and wars that had stretched across entire continents. If there was one thing he knew, it was that humans could endure, adapt, and rise above any challenge. Liara began her inspection of the facility, her gaze sharp and demanding. She watched humans train, work, and interact, yet her thoughts never strayed far from her shocking revelation. Humans could act on desire at any time. She could not believe it. Her mind, raised in the strict discipline of Vrinian culture, found the idea both fascinating and deeply unsettling. As Jace followed her quietly, he realized this was more than a test of biology. This was a test of humanity itself. Could humans show their strength, courage, and spirit in ways the Vrinian princess could understand? He was determined they could. That night, the stars stretched endlessly above the research facility. Liara stood by the observation window, gazing at Earth, the planet she was beginning to see in a new light. Jace approached cautiously. You doubt us, he said gently. She turned, her eyes still filled with awe. I do not doubt my senses, Commander. I doubt the very possibility of your claims. You claim freedom from instinct, yet I see no proof. I need to witness it myself. Jace nodded slowly. Deep down, he understood her disbelief. But he also knew something Liara had yet to see. Humanity's true power was not only in biology, it was in heart, courage, and choice. And soon she would see it for herself. Days passed, but Princess Liara's curiosity only grew stronger. She watched humans move, speak, and work with an energy that was foreign to her. Unlike Vrinians, who were bound by rigid cycles and instincts, humans seemed free. They laughed, argued, comforted each other, and made decisions based on thought, emotion, and will, not biology. Yet she still struggled to believe they could act on desire at any time. One evening, she approached Commander Jace alone in the observation hall. The stars outside sparkled like diamonds scattered across black velvet, reflecting in her wide, curious eyes. I still do not understand, she said softly, almost vulnerably. You claim humans can reproduce any time, yet I see no proof. All I see is life, work, and laughter. How is this possible? Jace considered carefully. Princess, humans do not follow cycles like your people. Desire is personal. Love is a choice, not a rule. We do not act only when nature commands. We act when the heart commands. Liara frowned, her pride warring with her growing fascination. Words are not proof. My people are slaves to instinct. We cannot control ourselves outside our cycles. Humans, you claim freedom, yet I see only appearances. I demand proof, Commander. I cannot leave until I witness this truth with my own eyes. Jace understood the weight of her demand. No species had ever asked humans to demonstrate their most private strength. But humans had faced impossible odds before. Wars, starvation, disasters, and survived. They had endured challenges that required courage, unity, and willpower. This was another challenge, but one he was confident they could meet. "Princess," he said, his voice steady but kind. "There is a way to show you without violating trust or privacy. Humans' proof is not only in biology, it is in emotion, in connection, in courage. We act out of care and choice. That is our strength. That is how we survive." Liara tilted her head, her expression skeptical. "You speak in riddles, Commander. Show me this strength. Show me your proof." Jace nodded. He called a small, trusted team of human volunteers. They were carefully briefed. Their task was not to demonstrate reproduction physically, but to display human trust, emotion, and connection, the qualities that made humanity so unique. Humans could act on desire any time, but always with consent, respect, and heart. This was something Vrinians would never understand easily. The next few days were tense. Liara watched the team navigate challenges that tested their bravery, loyalty, and compassion. She observed humans rescuing one another from simulated dangers, comforting teammates in fear, and making difficult choices that required patience and restraint. Slowly, she began to sense something unusual, something beyond biology. Humans were free. They chose love, trust, and connection when it mattered most. Late one night, Liara returned to the observation deck, where Jace stood silently, gazing at the stars. "I demanded proof," she said, her voice quieter now. "Yet I see only cooperation, courage, and emotion. How can these qualities show what I seek?" Jace smiled faintly. "Princess, you asked for proof of our ability to act on desire. That is not only a matter of body, it is a matter of heart. Humans can choose, act, and create life because we understand each other, trust each other, and feel deeply. That is our proof. That is what makes us human." Liara's eyes softened. For the first time, she allowed herself to feel awe and uncertainty at the same time. She realized that human strength was not in instinct, cycles, or rules. It was in freedom, emotion, and choice. This was proof no Vrinian cycle could ever provide. Yet her pride remained. She was a princess. She would not admit defeat even to herself. "Words and demonstrations are not enough," she said, voice firm. "I must see it in full. I must understand this freedom firsthand." Jace nodded, already anticipating the next step. Humans had survived countless trials, and now they faced their most unusual challenge yet: to prove the heart, courage, and freedom of an entire species to an alien princess who demanded more than mere words. Liara watched him closely, unaware that the lesson she sought would soon come from the most unexpected source: humanity itself, in ways that would change her forever. Princess Liara followed Commander Jace and his team as they went about their daily routines. She observed everything: the way humans trained, laughed, and even argued. Each moment seemed ordinary at first glance, but to her it was extraordinary. Humans moved with freedom she had never experienced. Unlike her own people, who were bound by cycles and instinct, humans could choose their actions. They could love, trust, and even fight purely by will. Still, Liara's mind could not fully accept it. "How can you live like this?" she asked Jace one evening, her voice almost a whisper. They were alone in the observation deck, stars stretching endlessly above Earth. "How can your species survive without cycles? Without instincts? Without guidance from nature itself?" Jace looked at her, calm and steady. "Princess, survival is not always about instinct. It's about choice. Humans choose to act, to protect, to love. That is our strength. That is why we endure." Liara shook her head, her expression a mixture of disbelief and wonder. "You speak as if it is simple. But my people, we are slaves to instinct. Outside our cycles, we feel nothing. We cannot control ourselves. And yet you claim freedom." Jace smiled faintly. "It is freedom you do not yet understand. It is not about acting on every impulse. It is about control, understanding, and care. Desire, love, trust. We act when we feel it, not when we are forced.